we fail to see the connection that that person is going to bullshit you because that's what they've learned to do. And we think, oh no, it's different, they're my friend. Or it's different because that's just an essay. That's just, nothing is just anything. Everything means something. Because is it easy to not find yourself scrolling for an hour? No. Is it simple? Yes. But is it easy? No. Those are two very different things, easy and simple. And when you're looking at all the stuff that you would buy if you just had more money, we know it's going to make us unhappy. Staring at what other people have is going to make us unhappy. Scrolling is going to make us unhappy. I guess I would ask that question, ask most people, are you happy? Do your teachers generally seem happy to you? So maybe it's not a matter of what you have, maybe it's a matter of what you are. You're going to notice that all of those things are designed to distract us from an absolute sense of that quiet desperation. If I can scroll on a phone, I can ignore my own life, my real life. If I can get in a car, I can pretend that my life has value and meaning. People will look at me anyway and think more of me. If I have a house, at least I can justify it and say, at least I come back to a nice house. I don't know, man. I guess if you come back to a nice life, it doesn't really matter where you live. It doesn't matter what you're driving. It doesn't matter what you're scrolling onto. I mean, living a real life, not living somebody else's life, not living a life of expectations from other people, but living your actual real life. If you do that, people are going to think you're strange. Of course, why? Because you are strange. Strange means that you're not normal. What's normal? Too much house, too much car, too many cell phones, too many television screens, too much. It's fascinating because it's true, what he's saying here. But like with most of these quotes, the question is, therefore what? Now what? Therefore what? Is it true that we oftentimes, not even oftentimes, but we often behave in ways that are guaranteed to make us unhappy? Yes. Like you were talking earlier, I don't have TikTok, so I just kind of go off of what you guys say with it. But have you ever scrolled through TikTok for however long, like an hour or so, and gotten to the end and been like, wow, I did it. You know, and then you felt like you really accomplished something. Have you ever scrolled through an hour of TikTok though and been like you were saying, holy shit, it's been an hour, and what have I done now? I have so much work to do. And then you find yourself buried in work. And the real problem with that, it's one of those things that, I don't know, man, you either get it or you don't. And I don't know how else to say it. You either get it or you don't. If you find yourself wasting a bunch of time and then you get to your work and you end up rushing through your work and you don't get your work done well, it's, like I said, you either get it or you don't. It's just, you can't have that sense of accomplishment, because even if you like finish an essay and you go, oh, I got it done. Yeah, but is it what it could have been? Like, could you have done a better job with it? Could that job, because you're putting your name on that. And whatever you wrote right there is reflecting you. And this isn't even just like, old man Scallon saying this. This is me even going back to being like 13, thinking, I'd see people like, oh, I just bullshitted my way through that. It's like, how can you be proud of that? Like you've just announced to the world that you're inauthentic, and that and what you just put your name on, you don't actually believe. And then we hear that and we laugh at that, but then we fail to see the connection that that person is going to bullshit you, because that's what they've learned to do. And we think, oh no, it's different, they're my friend. Or it's different because that's just an essay. That's just, nothing is just anything. Everything means something. Like I've told you, usually, not all the time, but usually whatever comes after the word just is bullshit. Just like whatever comes after the phrase all you have to do is usually bullshit. Because if it was that easy, people would do it. Maybe. No. Maybe. Because is it easy to not find yourself scrolling for an hour? No. Is it simple? Yes. But is it easy? No. Those are two very different things, easy and simple. Like, for example, there's a reason that I don't get on those things. And believe me, it's not just like a superiority complex. Oh, I would never waste my time with TikTok. No, it's because I know that those things are designed specifically to make you continue scrolling and clicking. That's developed by very high-level psychologists. It's designed to be addictive. And it's funny, people will smoke and will be angry at the tobacco companies for making cigarettes addictive, and we'll get on juries and we'll fine them billions and billions of dollars. And yet, Mark Zuckerberg will get up in front of Congress and say, no, there's no evidence at all that social media leads to higher levels of anxiety and depression, mental health disorders. There's tons of evidence. It's all over the place. But the thing about it is that it's easy to see a 15-second clip of Mark Zuckerberg on TikTok saying what you're looking at is not addictive. Now, we know it is. You cannot possibly be on that thing and not be aware at some level that it is addictive. But as long as we have someone tell us it's not, we can now behave in the way that's opposite what we know because we want to. We glob onto the one thing that a person says that we agree with, and then we go with that just because it supports what we want to be true, even though we know it's not. And we have this ability as humans. It's fascinating, but it's also diabolical that we can know a truth and we can know a lie, and we can live according to the lie as though it's true, while at the same time fully knowing that it's a lie. We behave in these ways that are guaranteed to make us unhappy because we want to be happy, although we know it's not going to make us happy. But we glob onto that immediacy, and we let these things override. That's why I was asking this question about whether survival and happiness in our own minds are connected. Because oftentimes we pretend like they are. Like we say, oh, I need this thing. Like, what would make me happy? Well, the reason I'm not happy right now is going back to what Jeremiah was saying. I need a new car. If I had a new car, then I would be happy. Is a new car a matter of survival? And then we'll rationalize it like it is. It's like, for example, okay, good example. I, for the life of me, cannot understand why people give their kids cell phones before high school. How is it? I see kids walking around like in junior high school, elementary school with smartphones. Like, what are you doing? Like, all of the data, all of the research in the world that we have so far that looks at this phenomenon tells us that kids who have cell phones, not cell phones, smartphones particularly, kids who have access to smartphones and social media have over 70% higher risk of mental health disorders if they get them before high school. Meaning that we don't have the ability before 9th, 10th grade to process what we're encountering online. We know this for a fact. This is going to jack people up. And people will still be like, to kids, why? Well, they have to have a phone. Why? And what do we oftentimes say?
Every kid has one.
Well, everybody else has one. So? What? I don't. And then at the same time, these same people then turn to you and say, well, just because your friends jump off a bridge, would you? Yeah, because if you said to your parents, like, if people said to their parents, like, yeah, I'm storing cocaine. What? Why? All my friends are doing it. Oh, okay, well, I wouldn't want you to be left out. Yeah. Have you thought about heroin, by the way? You ever a speedball when you mix the two? No, of course. I mean, I know, maybe some parents would do that. I doubt it. We would never accept that same reasoning. That's kind of what he's getting at here. We would never accept that same reasoning in other areas. But also it's because, why? Well, why not? We're here, right? We've come this far. And why is it that oftentimes parents want to do that? Why do they give their kids cell phones? What do they want to do themselves? Be on cell phones themselves. They want to scroll everything themselves, and they can't scroll. They have to actually be a parent. If your 10-year-old doesn't have or your 8-year-old doesn't have a smartphone, then they actually have to parent you. They actually have to play with you. They actually have to teach you things. It's easier to just go like, here's one for you too. And then we say, oh my God, my bills are just crazy. What kind of bills do you have? Well, I've got this car payment. Well, maybe buy a cheaper car then. Oh, but I need it though. Oh, okay, why? Because it's reliable. Used cars are reliable too, man. Almost nobody makes a bad car these days. Almost every car that comes off the assembly line is good and lasts a really long time. My truck, Mr. Truck, has 302,000 miles on him. Mr. Trucks, he's a beast, man. And I talked to him, he's like, I'm just getting started. So there you go, house payment, car payment. And of course you have to have that cell phone payment, $300-400 a month, because that's cheaper than a babysitter, right? Give the cell phone to your child, and all of a sudden now you don't have to pay for a babysitter. And then you get to scroll. And what are you scrolling at? And what are you looking at? All the stuff that you would buy if you just had more money. We know it's going to make us unhappy. Staring at what other people have is going to make us unhappy. Scrolling is going to make us unhappy. But we convince ourselves it's a matter of what we need rather than the stuff that we want. And again, I guess I would ask that question, ask most people, are you happy? Do your teachers generally seem happy to you? So maybe it's not a matter of what you have, maybe it's a matter of what you are. I think if you took most people who hate their jobs and you put them in another job, they would find a reason to hate that job because they're not grateful for what they have. And by the way, having said that, I understand that's a hard thing to do, to be grateful for what you have. We talk about it like it's so easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. You should be grateful that you have shoes because many children in Africa don't have food. Don't have shoes. I don't know why we always pick on Africa. There's South America, there's Asia, there's all kinds of other places we could pick on, but for some reason we always point to that one. I have my suspicions. But you look at that and you just go like, well, why? Okay, fine, I've got shoes. But do you really feel grateful? It's hard for me to when I see some of the shoes that you guys have. You guys have some dope shoes, man. I found out that some of you guys have pandas. It's hard when you compare yourself to other people. Maybe gratitude is something that you can develop. It's just hard to be grateful. It's like, think about a food that you don't like, and someone gives you that food. Think about a food that you like and that you don't like, and someone gives you that food, and you're like, and then people, you're not going to eat it? No. They're starving children in Africa. Oh, again, they have no shoes and they're starving. What else? It's difficult. It is hard because you can't command a person to be grateful. You've got to give them a reason to be grateful. You can't command a person to be happy. You've got to give them a reason to be happy. And these are things that we have to discover. You can't just say, you know what, I'm happy. All of a sudden, one day you are doing something. I guess I'd ask that question, does buying a bunch of stuff make you happy? By the way, some people, it does. When they say money doesn't buy happiness, it rents it, for sure. Money can rent happiness. But if you're thinking about what it is that keeps you happy, that's hard. You got to discover that, man. I really pray that you guys discover it way sooner than later. Because some of you are so much more than you realize. But sometimes we don't realize what we are. And she was someone who somehow along the way, she doesn't think she's smart. But remember I was telling you about you don't know what you don't know? And that people who rate themselves as being the smartest almost never are. And the people who can't put themselves like in the middle or even a little bit low, those are usually the smartest people, the most competent people. Yeah, she doesn't realize how smart she is. And she's not motivated to be in school. And I just said to her, I hope you find the thing that motivates you in life. It's not even school. I don't care. I don't care if you finish school. I don't think you need it. I don't think you need school. I think that you need an education. And if you're here and you're not getting an education, and I love you guys, man. I hope you know what I mean by that. I agape you guys, but many of you are not here getting an education. You're here scrolling, and you're here and you're being passed along. And if I asked you, to demonstrate some things that you know, what you're going to find is you don't know a whole bunch more than you did 4 years ago, any more than you would if you didn't come here for 4 years. If you'd gone to work instead and gotten a job, you'd know way more, because that might have given you a reason to apply yourself to learn some things. But we just come here and we burn our time for 4 years. And a lot of people then go off to college and they burn time over there for 5 years. And think about what you could have learned and known in 9 years if you had gone into something else. And that's 9 years we can't get back, but we tell you should be doing this stuff. Why? Oh, because it's going to make you happy. once again, I love you guys, but many of you do not look happy. And many of you look like you're living lives of quiet desperation. Just like many of the adults you come across in real life. And you can see why that pipeline just feeds right into that. And then these are the same people who then tell you, go be happy. Do what I did and go be happy. Buried under too much house, too much car, too many cell phones, too much cable television. And you're going to notice that all of those things are designed to distract us from an absolute sense of that quiet desperation. If I can scroll on a phone, I can ignore my own life, my real life. If I can get in a car, I can pretend that my life has value and meaning. People will look at me anyway and think more of me. If I have a house, at least I can justify it and say, at least I come back to a nice house. I don't know, man. I guess if you come back to a nice life, it doesn't really matter where you live. It doesn't matter what you're driving. It doesn't matter what you're scrolling onto. Because you're too busy living your life. And I mean like a real life. I mean living a real life. Not living somebody else's life. Not living a life of expectations from other people. But living your actual real life. And if you do that, people are going to think you're strange. Of course, why? Because you are strange. Strange means that you're not normal. What's normal? Too much house, too much car, too many cell phones, too many television screens, too much. But that's for you to decide. That's for you to decide. If you're different, I don't know why you'd expect to be accepted everywhere. But if you're accepted everywhere, I don't know why you'd expect to be happy.
But you say the last part. If you're accepted everywhere, why do you expect to be happy?
One more time, but separate words.
You said, if you're expected everywhere, I don't know why you would expect. I mean, if you were accepted everywhere, I don't know why you would expect to be happy.
Yeah. Because what does it mean to be accepted? What do you have to do to be accepted?
Live by other standards.
Yeah. And they're not your standards. So if you're accepted everywhere, I don't know why you'd expect to be happy. Because you're not living your own life. But if you're living your own life, I don't know why you'd expect to be accepted everywhere. You're not going to be, because you're weird. And by weird, I'm not attaching the negative connotation to that. It's like, yeah, you're different, you're weird, you're strange, because you're not normal. And all these words, we take them to be good things. Normal is good. Strange is, not strange is good. Maybe. And by the way, if you're somebody who likes all that stuff, dope. Do it. Do it. Why not? Get a big house, get lots of cars. Why not? If it makes you happy, then do that. But if it's not the thing that makes you happy, then you're a fool for doing it. Because that's when you get to the end of your life. You guys ever see Scarface? Anybody? Scarface, great movie, man. Guy comes to the United States from Cuba and takes over a drug empire. Don't do that part. Okay? We all agree? Drug trafficking, not good? Okay, some of you are not shaking your, okay. I'll assume that you would nod your head if any of you were listening. And he takes over a drug empire, and towards the end of the movie, he's sitting in this very expensive restaurant. He's surrounded by people in tuxedos, very wealthy people. He's wearing a suit. I won't say it's a nice suit because it's the 70s. No such thing existed. He's got the woman he wants, which, by the way, was somebody else's wife, not even his own. And he's got his best friend, who's high on cocaine. And he's sitting there in this booth with a cigar, and he's looking around the restaurant. And he just looks like a mixture of horrified and disgusted. And he says, "Is this it? This is what it's all about, man? This is what I was doing it all for?" And then he gets up and he makes a scene, and he's telling everybody off in the restaurant, and they're all just looking at him like, "Who is this man who's speaking to us in such a way?" And as he walks out, he says, "Say goodbye to the bad guy." Everybody, because he knows he doesn't belong there. Everybody knows he doesn't belong there, but they're a polite society, so they'll pretend like he does. Everybody in that restaurant knows what he does. You're a drug dealer. Not like us. Well, what do? Oh, I became wealthy by owning stock in Coca-Cola. So you sold overpriced sugar water that addicted people. So it's a different kind of addiction. I'm not a drug dealer. I own Facebook. So you create algorithms that addicted kids and created mass psychosis on kids. Mass psychological trauma to kids. Yes, but at least I didn't sell heroin. Maybe that's worthwhile getting to the end of your life and hopefully not looking around and asking yourself, is this it? This is what it's all about, man? Others. I guess it depends on what you mean by Karens. We have a tendency to I see them all over the place. I'm afraid to ask, but I will. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques. That's like 32 minutes or 34 minutes, and I don't think any of that is usable. None of that is worth posting. I apologize. I thought it was trash. But I'll try again next period. That's the good thing about me. I got 4 tries at this. I had 3 tries at this.